Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly call for business owners and executives that are transitioning to a more recurring revenue-based business model. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to formally launch managed services to your customers. Assuming you haven't done so already, or that maybe if you have, it hasn't been a very organized process. These are some of the things that I've seen really working for our other dealers, and I thought I'd share these with you so that way you can take some of these ideas and run with them and know how we can support you along the way. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, the 5 things that we're going to cover are press release, webinar, an expo, a personal letter, and of course sales calls. These are the 5 things that I've seen generate the most results in terms of leads and sales and getting people engaged and informed and knowing what's out there and available. And specifically, you know, I cover the area of virtual guard services. But if you're launching any other kind of programs, whether it's maintenance and service, or it could also be something along the lines of managed access control or other solutions that you might be wanting to offer to your customer base, use this formula because this formula works. Whenever you're trying to launch something new, this is a great way to get going. So let's see what these are about. First of all, with a press release, it's important that you find somebody who knows the proper way of drafting these things. There's a right and a wrong way to draft a press release. When you're doing something like this, you're typically working with other magazines or other author type people that are well trained and educated in the area of communications and writing. So if you don't have someone on your staff that has these skill sets, that's okay. We can assist with the drafting process and help edit anything that you may have already started. But it's important that you use this medium as a way to get your message across. The first thing to consider is that this is an official notice. So you want this to be dated. You want everybody to know, as of this date, we have changed the way we do business. So this is something that you need to already have communicated to the entire company. You should have already gotten the buy-in from everybody or have some ideas as to how you're going to be pricing all of this stuff. And you know, I'm one of those people that realizes we're going to be perfect. All the planning's never going to be just right. And until you really dive in, you don't know what to expect. But it is important you have somewhat prepared for what questions are going to be coming your way and how you're going to handle specific opportunities when they come. You have to see yourself being successful. So this official notice, you're putting a date on it. You're saying as of, say, July 1st, you know, our company has launched this, this, and this, and we will no longer be offering the old school services without this. And you need to just make it official. You have to explain why. You know, a lot of people will wonder, wow, well, that's a big move, but without understanding how it benefits me, without understanding how it benefits your company, without understanding the dynamics of the industry and where technology is taking us today, it doesn't really help sell. You need to really explain the history and how you've made this decision. You also need to describe the solutions that you are now offering, not in a whole lot of detail. A press release should only be a few paragraphs long, so you don't want it to be, you know, miles and miles. It doesn't need to be a spec sheet. It just needs to be very basic. We are offering virtual guard services that incorporate event-driven video monitoring, virtual doorman, video chaperone, etc., etc. Just be specific, but leave them wanting more information. I'm not saying keep it vague so that you're not answering questions. The questions you want to answer are, what are you changing, why are you changing it, and what does it mean to me? But ultimately, you want to leave them wanting more information. You don't want this to be an educational piece. You want this to just be an announcement. And then you leave them wanting, how do I know whether or not I need this, or how do I know how much this costs? All that stuff you should hold back on so that way you're able to sell later. But you do need to explain what the solutions look like and how they benefit the user. So there you go. What are the benefits? That's just a tangible takeaways that they get from the solutions. And express the importance and the urgency of this matter. In the area where you're talking a little bit about background and history, you'll cover that in a little bit of detail. But at the end, you want to sum it up by saying, we know that cameras need to be working all the time. And having cameras out there, you don't know whether or not they're recording at the proper frame rate and resolution. You don't know whether or not the quality of the video is what was expected, because nobody's out there proactively looking at those cameras. Nobody's monitoring your system. You're just recording what's happening without actually trying to stop things from happening. Those are the things that you need to express in your summary. These are the reasons why, and we are not going to offer these types of security installations without a service attached. And then always have a call to action. Always need people to know who do I contact and how do I get more information. Now, we can help you. We are happy to draft the press release itself. We have some connections to the industry trade magazines. If you want to focus on, say you play a lot in the area of retail or healthcare or education, whatever industries you sell to the most, look at whatever associations that they're a part of, whatever trade magazines they read, and find a way to get those releases into those hands of those customers. Similarly, your local news, figure out a way to incorporate your local newspapers and get your readership to include not just people on your mailing list, but people on their mailing list. Use social media to get the word across. If you have not already developed a social media campaign, that is a whole other thing that you need to be starting. But social media will greatly increase your reach with this type of message. Having people Facebook you and like it. Having LinkedIn is a great tool for these kinds of things. If you create a group on LinkedIn and invite all of your key customers, all of your leads, your prospects, your key partners that are part of your organization, that have contributed to your organization in one way or another, to join a group that's, security in Boulder, Colorado, whatever you call the group. Get people to join it and follow you and listen to some of these things, because the more you can reach them, instead of just an email blast, instead of just a phone call, instead of some of the old school ways, you need to use social media to stay in front of them on a regular basis. But that's a whole other thing. If you're a part of a Chamber of Commerce or other association in your area, you absolutely want to make sure that they also receive a copy of this press release. If you're a member, chances are they will publish it and have absolutely no problem. But you never know how far that can go. A lot of times, especially chambers, love this stuff. They'll come and take a picture of you. They'll incorporate your logo. They'll do whatever they can, maybe even interview you. You never know if they have an opportunity for a seminar that you could present alongside that Chamber of Commerce or that association to educate people on what's going on in the industry. All this needs to be is an informative piece you're getting in the hands of the right people. Perhaps to help. The next thing, when I mentioned that you need a call to action, the next thing you should consider doing is a webinar. Just like this, you need to have a way of getting your message across to your customers in a more detailed fashion, demonstrating the feature sets of virtual guarding, showing them how we do what we do. And a webinar is the best way to do that, because it can be done on their own, in their own office. It can also be done and recorded. So if they're unable to make it on that day, you can get a lot more mileage out of that hour you spent. And there's a few key considerations to putting this stuff together. The first thing is that this needs to be the second step. So you need to announce it first and make this the second step in your launch. The next thing is that you need to have a full demonstration of your new capabilities. We need to show them exactly how this stuff works. Seeing is believing, and that's the art of a webinar. We need to keep it short and sweet and to the point. Just like we try to keep these to 30 minutes or less, we need to do the same thing on behalf of your customers. We want to, again, leave them looking for more information. So even though they're spending 30 minutes of their time listening to us, talking about this particular topic, it's really important that you also leave them hungry to learn more. The more hungry they are, the more you're going to know about it, and the more they'll call on you to assist in doing a site assessment or whatever it is that's the next step for that particular customer. And you need to share some case studies. You need to talk about how end users are benefiting with these things today. Now, if you haven't sold much or any of these new solutions and this is your first time trying to generate a sale, this is where we come in. Because we have the connections, we have the relationships, we have the sites already online, I can demonstrate on behalf of your company how this is benefiting other customers. They don't need to know they're not your customers. They don't need to know I don't work for you. All of the PowerPoint would be done in your PowerPoint template, and it would be something that we can manage, create the link, send out the email blast, promote it, and help deliver that message with the presentation. We've done it for others, and it's generated business for everybody. So we definitely recommend that. And then the key is to follow up. Okay, so when you do a webinar, you can request their contact information. And so somebody who goes to a webinar and says, okay, here's my address, here's my phone number, here's my email, they are clearly interested in what you're trying to do. If they're willing to spend 30 minutes out of their day listening to you talk about this stuff, they're opting in for more information. So once we do the webinar, excuse me, it's important that you follow up after the fact, and we'll get you a report of everybody who registered, everybody who attended, so you can go back and figure out, well, who should have been on that wasn't on, and send them a recording. You can go back and call the people that were on the webinar and say, what did you think? Did you enjoy it? Was there anything that struck out at you? Is there anything that you think we can do to help you? It's all about the follow-up, folks. And lastly, do a giveaway. That has generated a lot higher attendance for the people that have tried that. You know, we're paying for the software, we're paying for the email campaign, we're handling all of the heavy lifting to put your presentations together. So all you need to do to make sure people attend is put a little money into a prize. You know, it could be a tablet, it could be a gift certificate, it could be something, you know, creative that you think of. But give them a giveaway, and we can make sure that those folks that are attending have a reason to attend and an incentive to pay attention throughout the presentation to up their odds for winning that prize. So again, we can assist in the creation of the webinar, creating the links, just like the one you're on today. Send us your PowerPoint template, put our content on there, so that way there's no hint of who integrator support is. It's all about you and your company's brand and the way you service your customers. And we will handle the registration, we will handle the delivery of the presentation, and all the reporting thereafter. The next thing is an expo. Now, an expo is a lot of work, okay, but it pays off. Depending on how big you are and how many customers you serve and how stretched out your territory is, you know, it might make sense to do just one, it might make sense to do a couple. But I've been to a few of these integrator-led expos in the last couple of months, and I've seen things go really smooth. I've seen things not quite as smooth, so you guys get the benefit of learning what the other folks did really well that worked and what they didn't do so well that didn't work as well as it could have. The first thing is you need to pick the right timing. Timing is everything. So first, it's some time to plan. So you should look at least 6 months out from where you are right now. And when you consider that, okay, that puts in what, November? Is your region, your location, somewhere people like to be in November? Is it snowing? Is it bad traffic? Is there no way of knowing whether or not it would work? If you need it to be a warm month, so that way you're not getting snowed on and there's no concerns of weather, then consider a spring or a summer time frame. If you are looking, if you're in the South, if you're in Texas or you're in Florida or you're in Georgia, and it's actually quite nice in November, then that might work for you guys. Then the key is, holidays. How do you work through the holiday season? Is your customer's business slower in the holidays, which would mean that they would have more free time to go to an expo? Would you be able to maybe make it a theme? Maybe you make it sort of a Thanksgiving theme, like it's a customer appreciation event right around Thanksgiving, something along those lines. You have the opportunity to be creative here. You just need to figure out when is a good time based on your resources and how long it would to put something together, and also your location and when it would be a desirable time for people to come. Now, location, location, location. Location is everything, guys. Where are you going to host it? The people that have done it at their own office haven't had as big of a return as people who did it somewhere else. Now, I know, obviously, you already pay for your office. It's free space. But the idea of taking people out of that element, somewhere that's nice, somewhere that's pretty, somewhere that they get to brag to their friends and family that I got to go have a lunch at this place today. That's something that will draw more people. Having kind of a sexy location will get more people to attend. So look in your geography and identify some of the hot spots. Now, obviously, we know you have a budget, so consider that. But then it goes back to timing. The place I just went to last week was up in Maine. It's a resort right on the coast of Maine. I mean, just beautiful. And it's still chilly there. It's not for warm. So, people were hanging out outside. It happened to be a nice day, but everybody had like light jackets on, which was okay though. Because here's the thing, is it was nice out. It was beautiful. The view was just tremendous. And they got a better rate with the hotel because it was early in their season. If they had waited 3 more weeks, their costs could have doubled. So think about what's on season, what's the peak season, and is there a way to maybe find it like towards the beginning or end of those seasons? That way you can save money, but give your customers an attractive place to go to. The next thing is what's on the agenda, right? You've got to have something on the agenda for these people to come to. So presentations, exhibition, if you have some vendor partners in the area that would sponsor. A lot of times people get manufacturers or manufacturers reps to cough up $1,000 or $2,000, and it helps pay for some of the overhead, and it also shows that you have partners behind you. They get to see the products, see the demonstrations, identify the solutions that maybe would be a good fit for them. So it's important you have some of your vendors and suppliers around with you. Now, in terms of educational content, it's important that you have good speakers. You don't want to have just, somebody from, down the street that you sold something to a couple of weeks ago come in and speak about it. You can do that if they're a good speaker. Are they engaging? Do they have a good story to tell? If you need help qualifying speakers, selecting speakers, identifying topics, this is all stuff that's really part of my nature. I'm happy to help with that stuff. And I'd be happy to come down and speak. So this last week at the expo in Maine, I had a room of 60 end users listening to me talk about virtual guard services. And I kept it short. I only had about a 45-minute presentation. And I think I had a 45-minute time slot, but I ended after 40 minutes. And it was something that I know is generating business because they're already getting requests for proposals. So it's important that you vet some of your speakers and think about us too. I'll tell you that this particular expo I was just at, they kind of made the mistake. they selected a keynote to come in and speak about really high-level trends. And the topic was interesting, okay? When you read the portfolio, you read the program, the topic is interesting. But the guy came in and was talking to the audience like he thought he was talking to a whole bunch of security integrators, and he didn't realize he was talking to customers. So he was talking about money and recurring revenue and this and that and the other, and stuff that end users do not care about. That was a big mistake. They gave him the most high-profile spot, and he came in and talked to all of their customers, and he was a keynote, and he bombed it. Okay, so it's important that you practice, that you really work with them. And if you're unsure of whether or not it's out, get someone else. Get the right people to do the job for you. Because if you have the wrong people, it can really ruin a lot of effort and a lot of really good things. I talked about getting it sponsored, and it helps the business. And similarly, giveaways. Again, you need to entice people to come. Customers don't have to come listen to you. They're not necessarily looking for continuing education credits. Maybe some of them are. Maybe some of them, you know, it's really the free lunch. Whatever it is that gets them there, though, use your time wisely, make it fun for them, and give them an incentive to join you. Make it educational, so that way they're learning what you want them to learn before they leave. And get them involved. When they're serious. What is the more horrific security breach? Share what happened. Share the losses. Share the pain. Share what you had to do about it. Share how, you know, and when they start speaking passionately about what's happened to them, then they can start to really see you as a problem solver. Again, we're happy to help you. The next thing on the list is a personal letter, and we're running short on time, so I'm going to breeze through this one. It's pretty much the same content as a press release, with the exception of I am writing it to an individual. It's something that I want to make as specific to them as possible. I want them to know that I am writing this to them. I am thinking of them as I put this together. And so maybe you pick 50 to 100 individuals, some of them existing customers, some of them your most loyal customers, some of them people that maybe you messed something up for a couple years ago, and now you're trying to make it up to them. Maybe it's people that you've been, you know, knocking on the door for, prospects that you've been trying to get, and it just hasn't worked out yet. Pick 50 to 100, a manageable number, and take the same type of content and structure it in a way that's more personal, that lists their name, their company name, that they can see of, you know, a little specific note that they know, you wrote this to me. And then send it via like FedEx or UPS. You can send it ground, but do something so it's in an official envelope and it looks important. Spend the $3 a pop, whatever it is. If it's $5 for you to send it, and then you pick 50, that's a $250 investment to get this thing out. It will yield results. Make it specific. You know, talk about, I know you had this happen to you last year. This is what we're doing to try and mitigate those losses. Blah, 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 blah. Sign it in ink with your own hand, and we're happy to assist with drafting the letter and editing the letter if it was something that you wanted to write yourself. The last thing is sales calls. Well, duh. This is something that needs to be intermittent throughout your launch, throughout the process. But what you do is you use the other communication mediums as a reason to call, as talking points. You say, hi, Joe, I just wanted to see if you saw that press release we sent out yesterday. Boy, can you believe how much things have changed and how technology is allowing us to do so many new cool things. And you say, did you have questions? Did anything in that press release jump out at you? Did you consider how we might be able to do this? Use those as a talking point. Then what you do is you have the webinar, and you say, hey, did you see we're inviting everybody to a webinar? I haven't seen you register yet. Is that something that you'd like to do? It will only take 30 minutes of your time. Oh, if the timing's not good, let's set up a time. We can do the presentation for you one-on-one. You need to just use these opportunities to call and stay in touch with people. That's all sales is. Keep track of who you contact, how it goes, where they are in the decision process, and follow up. Do not drop the ball. Please make sure that you are constantly reminding them and following up with them when you say you will. Have a time frame, and that time you speak with them, you have a next step of action. You have something else to look for, another deadline to meet, so that they know to expect your call again, and you're not catching them off guard when you follow up. And lastly, if you have any sales meetings with your sales team, like me to work on, fine, okay, what should we say? How do we use this process and keep the most going and have to help with your team? Simply, if you're working on a client and they're having some questions about how the services work, or they need some assistance in understanding the ins and outs of things, maybe the technology, maybe how an ordering center is, who knows what the questions might be coming from. But go ahead and invite us. We will be happy to help answer the questions customers have and assist your sales team with really leveraging this entire rollout for all that you can get. For that, I want to just say thank you, everybody, for your time today. I know that you're all busy, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share this 30 minutes with us. Don't hesitate to contact us if there's anything that you need, but we'll be in touch with each of you to talk about how to get this rollout initiated. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody.